Right now, in China, Volkswagen is getting run off the road, beaten by car companies that did not exist 10 years ago. Young Chinese buyers won't even look at it. They call a Volkswagen your dad's car. Ouch. And here is the part that makes this insane. Volkswagen is the company that taught China how to build cars in the first place. It walked into China back in 1985 and showed a whole country how it was done. The teacher is getting schooled by its own students. None of this was bad luck. Volkswagen did this to itself. It all started 10 years ago with a single lie. A lie so big it cost $30 billion. And you are still paying for it today. So let us follow the money. From the biggest cheat in the history of cars to the day it handed China the future. This is how a giant kills itself. To understand how far Volkswagen has fallen, you have to see how high it was. Not long ago, this was the biggest car company on the planet. Around 10 million cars a year. Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Bentley, all of it under one roof. And in China, the largest car market on earth, Volkswagen was the king. For almost 40 years, it owned that road. If you drove in China, odds are you drove one of theirs. This was not a company with problems. This was the top of the mountain. And it threw itself off. Nobody pushed. To see why, we have to rewind 10 years to the lie. 10 years ago, Volkswagen wanted one thing, to conquer America. And in America, it spotted a golden ticket. Diesel. Diesel is cheap to run and goes for miles. The catch is that it is famously dirty. So Volkswagen made a bold promise. It would sell you a diesel that was fast, cheap, and clean, all at once. They called it clean diesel, and they spent a fortune selling you the dream. It was a beautiful story. It was also completely fake. Because engines have a rule you cannot break. You do not get all three. Clean enough to pass the test, and it goes soft. Powerful enough to sell, and it pollutes like a truck. Volkswagen refused to choose, so it cheated. Its engineers buried a secret piece of software deep inside the car. They call it a defeat device. Its only job was to lie, and it was clever. The car could feel when it was being tested. Wheels spinning, hood up, steering wheel still. It just knew. In the lab, it behaved. Quiet, clean, spotless. Then you drove it out onto the road, and it switched the cheat off. Out here, in the real world, it let rip. Up to 40 times the legal limit of pollution. 40 times. That is not a mistake. That is a decision. And it was not one car. It was around 11 million of them, worldwide. 11 million cars, every single one built to lie to a government test. For years, it worked. Volkswagen sold America the clean green dream, and you bought it. Then a small group of researchers at a university in West Virginia ran a little test. They expected to prove how clean these cars were. Instead, their gear showed the pollution going through the roof. That one test brought the whole empire down. By 2015, Volkswagen was standing in an American courtroom, pleading guilty to fraud. Executives and engineers went to prison. It had to buy back hundreds of thousands of cars from its own customers. And the bill kept climbing. Fines, settlements, buybacks, country after country. It would pass $30 billion. Hold on to that number, because that is the money that was supposed to beat China. And Volkswagen just set it on fire. Quick one before we move on. If you ever drove one of these cars, you did not just lose money. You got played. Tell me in the comments what they offered you to make it right. Then stay with me, because it gets worse. Now let me be straight with you. China was coming for the car industry no matter what. Cheaper, hungrier, faster. That wave was going to hit everyone. So I am not going to sell you a lie to explain a lie. Dieselgate did not create China, but it did something almost as damaging. It left Volkswagen slow, broke, and looking the wrong way at the worst possible moment. Think about what $30 billion does to a company. That is not a fine. That is a bonfire. Money to buy back 500,000 cars. Money for armies of lawyers. Money for settlements across 3 continents. $30 billion that built nothing. All of it went to cleaning up the past, and Volkswagen was desperate to look like the good guy again. So it made a giant, expensive promise. It would become the green company, the electric company. It bet the whole business on electric cars, which sounds smart until you realize it was not a plan. It was a panic. They rushed everything. They built their own software division from scratch and set billions on fire making software that barely worked. Cars shipped late. Screens froze. So picture the giant in those years, on its knees, paying for an old crime with one hand, fumbling its future with the other, head down, pockets empty, not watching the road. And that is the exact moment the car in its blind spot pulled level. It was Chinese, and it was flying. While Volkswagen was apologizing, China was building, and China refused to play the old game. For 100 years, a great car meant a great engine. Metal, pistons, horsepower. That was Germany's home turf, and nobody did it better. So China changed the game. It bet everything on electric. And this is the cruel part for Volkswagen. An electric car does not have that engine. 100 years of German mastery, worth a little less every single day. Then there is the speed. Chinese companies can design a brand new electric car in as little as 18 months. Volkswagen takes around 4 years to do the same thing. By the time the Germans finish one car, the Chinese have launched 3. And the price? Chinese electric cars come in cheaper than anything Germany can build. Better technology, lower price, built in half the time. So look at what happened inside China, Volkswagen's own kingdom. Its share of the electric market there fell from about 21% to under 13%. It dropped from the #1 car maker in the country all the way to number 3. And the fat profits it used to pull out of China every year are drying up fast. The kingdom was collapsing. But this next part should stop you cold. Remember, Volkswagen taught China how to build cars back in 1985. It was the teacher. Well, the teacher just went back to the students to buy their homework. Volkswagen is now paying a Chinese startup for its technology. It is even looking at building cars designed in China and selling them back to Europeans. Say that slowly. A German car, designed in China, sold to Germans. The student did not just catch up, the student became the master. And the mighty Volkswagen is standing in line, wallet open. So that is it, right? Game over. Somebody write the obituary. Not so fast, because Volkswagen just did something nobody expected. It fought back, and it actually took back the #1 sales spot in China. Here's how it happened. Its Chinese rivals had been living on government subsidies. Those subsidies dried up, and the second they did, Volkswagen jumped back to the top of the sales chart. So this is the great comeback. Crisis over. Right? Look closer at how they pulled it off. To win those sales back, Volkswagen had to cut its prices to the bone. It is selling more cars and keeping far less on each one. It is buying back its own crown with its own profit. That is not strength. That is a clearance sale. And winning a single month on a sales chart is not the same as winning the war. The real war is not about who sold the most cars this quarter. It is about who owns the technology of the future. And there, Volkswagen is still losing. Badly. You can buy back a sales number in an afternoon. You cannot buy back a 10-year lead in technology. So what is Volkswagen's move now? If you cannot beat them, join them. It is teaming up with the very Chinese companies that are beating it, licensing their tech, using their platforms, leaning on their software. On paper, that is smart. It keeps the company alive and the cars competitive. but sit with what it actually means. Every deal Volkswagen signs to survive makes it more dependent on its rival. The more it leans on China, the less it can stand on its own 2 feet. So, I'm gonna hand this one to you, because honestly, nobody knows the answer yet. Is this brilliant survival? Or is it surrender in slow motion? Is Volkswagen saving itself? Or just renting a little more time from the company that is replacing it? Tell me what you think down below. I read everyone. Okay, let us bring this all the way home, to your money. Because every story on this channel ends in the same place, your wallet. When you buy a Volkswagen today, where does your money actually go? Not into some fat profit. Those margins are thin now. A big slice goes to keeping a huge, old, expensive German machine running. Factories and pensions from another century. Another slice goes to that never-ending bill for a 10-year-old lie. And a growing slice goes to renting technology from China. So you pay a premium price for a badge that used to mean the best in the world, on a car that is now quietly falling behind. That is the con. The trust Volkswagen sold you years ago, with a smile and a clean diesel promise. You are still paying it off today, every time you fill the tank, every time you sign the finance papers. So, where does this leave us? 10 years ago, Volkswagen told a lie to beat America. It cheated because it could not stand to lose. And that one shortcut is the reason it is losing everything now. To be clear, China did not win because of Volkswagen. China was always going to be dangerous. But that lie cost Volkswagen $30 billion, its focus and its nerve, at the exact moment it needed all 3 to fight back. It did not hand China the race. It just showed up to the race, broke, distracted, and years behind. The cheat that was supposed to make Volkswagen unbeatable is the same cheat that left it defenseless. And the uncomfortable truth is this: Volkswagen is not special. Right now, there is a giant company you trust completely, a brand you would never think to question. And somewhere inside it, someone is taking a shortcut. Just like this one. The only question is when we find out. So tell me down in the comments, which company do you think is next? And if you want to see exactly where your money goes inside these giants, before it is too late, then subscribe. Because I am already following the money on the next one. It is a company you use every week. And you will not believe what they are hiding. I will see you there.